Welcome back to Origami Snowman. My name is Matt. Today I'm going to talk about 5 books and their criticisms. They are not terribly popular or well-known books. You may or may not have heard of some or none of them. The first book, The Bloodpines by Matt Beers. So The Bloodpines is my first novel. I published it in 2017. This is a book that I carried around in my head for about 5 years before I finally sat down and wrote it out. Most of this was written at my local library because at the time we ran a daycare, and I don't know if you know anything about daycares. They're often very loud, not a conducive environment to novel writing. So I went to the library, and guess what? Libraries are also loud. Like when I was a kid, libraries were quiet. Like that was the thing that they were, and sometimes they had books. But not anymore. Now they're like, bring all of your children, bring your neighbor's children, go kidnap some orphans and bring them along. We're gonna have a crazy loud sing-along and there will be dogs and candy. I learned that if I had headphones on and I played like classical music stuff, nothing with lyrics. If it was something that I could sing along with, I was screwed. But like classical music, I could totally get some writing done. One thing I also learned about myself, this was years later, when I'm editing, as I read over things that I've written, I tend to read it out loud without realizing it. So I'm pretty sure I've read this book in its entirety to all of the people sitting around at my local library. Thank goodness all of the children were there and no one could hear me. That would be awkward. So what criticisms are there about The Bloodpines? None, as far as I know. There are some. Somebody once sent me this. It is a cover that they designed for my book, The Bloodpines. It is gorgeous. It is absolutely gorgeous. And I know that it is a valuable resource that I really should be utilizing. I cannot afford to pay this artist what I believe that is worth, which is why it still has this cover and not that really gorgeous one. Now, the criticism that I'm going to address is from that same artist. I found some comments online that he had made. He pushed the book. He said, "Hey, you guys need to read this book. It's incredible. It's one of my new favorite books." Very generous, I thought. He was just a very, very, very kind gentleman. But he said he bought the book on the recommendation of someone else, like a year prior, but got it and hated the cover so much that he couldn't read it. He said the cover looks like something. The cover looks like something that was designed on Canva. If you don't know, Canva is like a free online design tool where you could just like take clip art and pre-existing fonts and just kind of jumble them together and make your child's birthday party announcement or whatever. I use it all the time for thumbnails, for videos, and also to design book covers. Yes, this was designed on Canva, 100%. Do you want to know how I did it? It's real easy. In the there's a little search bar where you can look for different shapes or different pictures or different images, or, I just typed in triangles because pines are triangle shaped. So that's what came up. Literally this. And I just changed the colors and I dropped in the font. I didn't even pick this font. My wife picked this font because I am completely inept when it comes to any design, anything. Like I put together my own look. Do you like it? All right, the next book I would like to address. This is actually currently an unfinished series, so I'm kind of attack these next books all at once because the same criticism applies to all of them. This series is called Whithersoever by Matt Beers. Now, you're going to notice that, this cover, also terrible. That was intentional. In fact, every misfire about this book visually was intentional. I wanted an awkward size book. I wanted a hideous, just an ugly, ugly cover. And I wanted a title that was like kind of a what? So basically, I sabotaged this book. I made sure it didn't sell well. And if this didn't do it, then the inside would definitely make sure it didn't sell. So the way this book was written, I started reading a book by a guy named George MacDonald called Lilith. It's a fantasy novel, which I still have not finished. However, I was inspired by the vernacular, and I was inspired by like the nice old-fashioned fantasy of it. And I thought, you know what? I want to write. I want to write. I need to write. I got to get some words out of me. I was also having some really genuinely deep emotional issues. Like my mental health was really, really bad. It was as bad as it's ever been. And so I decided I need to get out of my head. I've got to go somewhere else. So I created this world and sat down. And in 12 days, I wrote the first draft, which was only 40,000 words, but I cranked it out and had my friend edit it. He does all my editing. His name's Brian. He's a terrific guy. Oh, hi, Gus. You worried that I'm saying too much, that I'm sharing too much? He always looks out for me. 30 days from the time I started typing till I had this finished book in my hand. It took 30 days to write, edit, and publish. So that's pretty cool. However, as this was an emotional, what do you call it? A scramble. It didn't get the planning it deserved. So then I wrote a second one, Whithersoever, book 2. Also, I just took the same format from the first cover, changed the colors, changed the quill pen to a knife, and I had the second one. And then if little planning was too much planning, I did no planning when I wrote the third one. Changed the colors, changed this to a circle, and it is a mirror, and thought I was done with it. I thought I was going to finish it up, but then I didn't. And so now there are 3 books that aren't finished, a series that is unfinished, that I don't know if I'll ever finish, because that means I have to get myself in that same headspace. I've got some ideas how I could write around the bad writing, but anyway, long story short, let me get to the point of this. A friend of mine said, I enjoyed them. Like a lot of people are like, oh, I really liked it. One guy said it was really weird, but it was like the right kind of weird. Thank you, I appreciate that. But my friend who said, I enjoyed it, but it felt like you were making it up as you went. I was absolutely making it up as I went. Yep, three published novels with no goal, with no idea where I was going, what I was going to do. So let's address that criticism. Yes, correct. The last book I want to share with you is the newest book. It's more recent. It's like almost a year and a half old. It's called Secretly Kings by Matt Beers. Secretly Kings is my favorite of the books that I've written. It's not the most concise. It's not the cleanest. It's not the one that people like the most. That would be this one. But it is my favorite. It's the most personal. It starts with a lot of murder. Siblicide, if you will. That is murdering your siblings. I'm not don't condone it. Don't kill your siblings. But, if it happens, it happens. So, Secretly Kings, yes, again, Canva. I did go into this one with a plan, which I abandoned as soon as the characters took over, which they always do. But the criticism that I get from this is it just seems like I took a novel and I filled it with all of my favorite things. Science fiction and fantasy novels and punk rock. And Siblicide. Yep, I sure did. Why not? If you're going to write a story, if you're going to come up with a character that's believable, and you're going to give him what is essentially your own childhood with a lot more trauma, why not make all of his favorite things your favorite things? It's something I could write to. I could speak to that. I could talk about, all these, what I'm doing now, science fiction and fantasy novels and punk rock, which I do love. So, so listen. Sometimes criticism is just somebody who's a little bit jealous, who's a little bit frustrated with themselves, and so they project onto you. But sometimes criticism is accurate. Yes, I did it on Canva. No, I don't have a plan. Yeah, it's all my own favorite stuff. And you know what? Let me say something. The person who said this, who said it just feels like you put in all your own favorite stuff. Do you know who that was? That was me. That was me while I was thinking about awful things to say about Ready Player One. It just seems like he put in a bunch of his favorite stuff, which seems like a thing that I did once. So, hey, you know what? If the shoe fits. This isn't even a shoe, guys. It shouldn't be. It's not a shoe. If you want to buy 2 of them and make a pair of shoes, that's great. Send me pictures. But make sure you read it first. By the way, any of these books, especially this one, can be found on the interwebs for sale. You can find them on barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com. Just so you know, these Whithersoever, these are the cheap ones for a reason. But these are the ones that I'm really proud of. So read these. Anyway, you guys are amazing and wonderful, and I love you all to pieces, and I will see you in the very next video. So long and goodbye.